On that night, when the full moon shone down, casting its cold light upon the forest, I resolved to take a stroll to awaken the fading recollections of my youth, when I frequently ran along these same paths. However, as an adult, the towering trees now appeared impenetrable, their shadows hiding something menacing. I proceeded along a familiar path, and with every step, the darkness thickened. The moon illuminated the area brightly, yet its glow only highlighted the somberness of the landscape around me. I caught the sound of rustling leaves in the distance, a noise that made my heart race immediately. I dismissed the unsettling feeling of being observed and pressed on. Abruptly, between two massive oaks, I spotted a shadow. It appeared far too large to belong to any common creature. I stopped, straining to hear the forest sounds. The breeze whispered through the leaves, before the noise faded away, almost as if I were being watched. I took another step, and the shadow moved slowly among the trees. This was not just a trick of the light, it was a figure, twisted and distorted, with enormous eyes that glowed ominously. Panic consumed me, and I tried to retreat, only to find a wall of trees blocking my escape. I froze, my gaze locked onto the creature. Its form was covered in coarse bark, and its face grotesque, as if sculpted from the very shadows of the forest itself. A chill ran down my spine. The monster seemed to sense my terror, gradually advancing towards me while my heart pounded in rhythm with its heavy steps. I turned to flee, ignoring the branches and roots scratching at me. My mind screamed at me not to look back, but my instincts compelled me to check on that dreadful creature. Each time I glanced over my shoulder, I caught a glimpse of its form in the moonlight, leaping and distorted, utterly unnatural. Moments later, I burst into a clearing where the moonlight cascaded over the ground. There, in the bright spots, I paused for a moment to catch my breath. Yet my relief was short-lived. A raspy sound echoed from behind, resembling a prolonged growl. I felt a shiver run through me. Sounds and movements surrounded me from every side. Realizing the forest was rife with horrors, I dashed forward again. I kicked up gravel and broken branches, yet no matter how swiftly I ran, the monster persisted. It moved effortlessly, as though nature was on its side. My thoughts spiraled into chaos. Where can I run? Is there any point to my escape? Suddenly, I heard the clatter of claws behind me, and I plunged into the thick bushes, bracing for my inevitable demise. Time stretched into an eternity. I held still, listening intently to the sounds, tuning into every detail. Finally, silence engulfed me. Gathering my courage to rise, I finally spotted it. Just a few meters away, it stood, bathed in moonlight, its form even more menacing. I could now distinguish its features: wild hair, like dry branches, cascaded from its shoulders, teeth as sharp as stones protruded from its gaping maw. The monster seemed to absorb each of my breaths and movements. I gazed into its eyes and perceived an unfathomable sorrow, one that could only be seen in the depths of an abyss. I was unsure how to react. Should I fight? Should I flee? It took a step closer, and I felt as if I were suffocating in fear. In that instant, my senses heightened to a razor's edge. Trapped in my thoughts, I conjectured that perhaps it wasn't after my life. Perhaps it too was wandering through this dark forest, much like I was. I gradually raised my hand, hoping to signal that I meant no harm. It halted, still cautious, but ceased to approach. We stood there in silence, gazing at one another. I was oblivious to how much time had passed, but at that moment, all my fears quieted. I attempted to speak. My voice quivered, but I found comfort in it. "Are you lonely?" I whispered. For a brief moment, it felt as though an answer lingered in its gaze, in the sorrow it held inside. Then, as if it sensed my thoughts, it turned away and dissolved into the forest's darkness, leaving me alone under the full moon's light. Confused, I wasn't sure what to do next. Rather than fear, an unusual peace washed over me as I slowly made my way back, realizing that sometimes what we fear is simply a reflection of our own anxieties. I never returned to that forest. However, every full moon night I could hear its whispers among the trees, reminders that sometimes encounters with our deepest fears can lead to unexpected insights.